Hello, welcome to another episode of Namtaro Talks. Today's episode is titled What They Could Do. And after the end of the episode, you're pretty much who the they I am talking about is. Yes, I know I reiterated that I do not want this to be a political podcast. And from what I've seen so far, I'm very sure that it's not. I talk about a variety of different subjects, and I stand by what I talk, and I'm pretty much enjoying myself. However, personally, I think that I consolidated several talking points into this particular episode. Personally, I don't even think it's that political. It's just like current events, like what's going on. Well, not necessarily in the news, but the state of the country, the state of society, the state of the average life. Oh, average American life. Well, I'm an American. Well, yeah, wow, surprise there. I'm just kidding. Okay, but by what they could do, well, they've seen the current state of the government. They've seen how things are being run. They've seen the turmoil, the chaos, the uncertainty, the dysfunction, the power grab, and they could rise above it. I'd start with that. They rise above it by, number one, catering to the average American, the average citizen, the middle class, the working class, the people who work 9 to 5, the kids who go to school, the young adults who go to college, the people who work part-time jobs, the people that have to pay rent and mortgages and bills. At least cater to those people. Think of those people. Tailor your policies towards those people. Make those people your priority. At least start with that. Because those people are the majority of the country. Not the elites, not this race or this identity or that identity. Like the average American, they work hard. They want an education. They're trying to get an education. They want a better standard of living. They're trying their best. They have family. They have friends. They try to have a work-life balance. It's that simple and basic. Just cater to them. Well, how do you cater to them? Well, when I keep saying using the word cater, but I don't really mean, you gotta solve all their problems. You gotta give them every single thing, and you gotta make life super easy and comfortable for them, and not take too much of their taxes or whatnot. Well, how about start with safety net programs? Because, like I said in previous episodes, as a matter of fact, some points I make in this episode might have been previously said, but I think they're worth reiterating. Yeah, safety net programs. Because life happens. Not everyone just goes to work and goes to school every day and just goes home and just chills or meet with friends and family and do their hobbies. No, I wish it was that easy, but it's not. Because people get sick, or natural disasters happen, or several things are out of your control, or you get laid off, or you get fired, or your grades weren't good that one semester, and you might need to take longer than you need. So, or sometimes you have a kid, and that kid needs extra attention, or needs extra help, or you gotta take care of an elderly family member, or someone has special needs, or someone has chronic diseases, and you need to take care of them. So safety net programs would help alleviate that, at least. Oh yeah, also, what if sometimes you don't have the means to get rides or get food as easily? Of course, we don't want people to completely 100% depend on it or abuse it, but we need it to be a viable option. We need it to be easily accessible, because if everyone's living with the proverbial gun to their head or knife, it's the sort of Damocles, I think, hanging over the head. If I drop down and you're completely devastated, you're wiped out, financially, or your health, or something happens to your family, you need a safety net to bounce back from. Or otherwise, it's just pull you up by your own bootstraps. You're on your own. Everyone for themselves. It's a dog-eat-dog world. I did it by myself. Why can't you? What kind of government or world would allow that to happen? Yeah, because sometimes we're too individualistic. But I'm starting to see some of the merits of collectivism, and I'm not saying we gotta sway one way or the other, but you need to, like I say, we live in this world with other people, and we are organized as a society. So we gotta at least work together and have some organization, have a competent ruling body, have a democracy, let the people make their decisions, but give them a chance, give them options to help out or to help them out as needed, so they could at least prioritize that, make that more viable, or even push it to the forefront of the national conversation. Like say, oh, these people, they need more help, they need more respect, they need more resources. We don't do it for them, but we give them a chance. That's how you rebuild trust and credibility. I mean, does anyone in America 100% have full faith and trust the government right now? Like, trust all the members of Congress, trust all the elected officials? I can personally say I don't, right? I mean, there are many people with their best interests at heart, but because of the system, the incentives are warped, sometimes. So it's not as easy to just serve the constituents when you're distracted or busy campaigning or beholden to a political action committee or political party. So by at least prioritizing the citizens instead of the lobbyists, the corporations, the elites, the top 1%, the billionaires, the industrial complexes, they could at least start with that. That's the right step in the right direction, at least. And such programs and topics that come to the forefront regarding the quote-unquote safety net are healthcare and education. I mean, we hear about these topics all the time, and we compare America's systems with the rest of the other developed countries and industrialized worlds. And, oh, how come they get this and we don't? How come we pay so much more for worse quality and stuff like that? Well, how about we try to find a way to get to the root of the problem and try to change the incentives in a way that benefits the average American. Yeah. For example, healthcare. I mean, there's no need to be unnecessarily expensive. Why should the insurance company be the one to be the final deciding factor of a medical operation that a doctor or other healthcare professional has deemed necessary? But how come the insurance company is the final gateway to say, no, we're not going to pay for it. No, you can't afford it. No, too bad, you can't get it. You got to live with that health condition for the rest of your life, or you're going to die. Like, who are they to make that decision? I mean, they're not the ones who professionally trained. They're not the one who went through medical school or other like pharmacy school, nursing, physical therapy school, optometry school, whatever. They're just the ones who just sit behind the computer screen and like bill this, deduct that, and make the decisions and charge exorbitant prices. That's another thing, because like healthcare and education right now, they are for profit. But you shouldn't profit off of this. I mean, the priority should be the quality and the well-being of the people you're serving, not to make a quick buck. Yeah, that's why right now the system it's like taking care of the problem, rather than preventing the problem from happening in the first place. That's why they want sick people. That's why they want people to be on their medicine rather than just advocate for a healthy, active lifestyle. Yeah, so you can kind of tell they're in bed with like, the food corporations that have all the preservatives and high fructose corn syrup and chemicals in all the food to make you sick, to keep you sick. So they're all in cahoots with each other. But that's why we got to change the incentive. We got to put the average human being first, like humanity first. Yes, that is a slogan that is from a familiar third party. But I'm not saying they should be the ones in charge, but at the very end, it should be humanity first. Not just for America, but for the world. Honestly, we have enough resources. We have the means to help out and take care not just the people only in America, but the rest of the world. Supposedly, we have enough food to feed the entire world population several times over. It's like you make the choice to keep things like as bad and as inefficient and bureaucratic as the way they are. Yeah, and not just like healthcare, like regarding education too. You gotta have a good balance of all the subjects at hand, and like, but not just focus mainly on the subjects and the academic side. You gotta have it applied to a real life, real world situations. You know, I mean, yeah, the quadratic formula is important, but what about paying taxes or figuring out interest or investing in mutual funds or getting a mortgage? That's all important too. That's much more applicable. And, reading is important too, but not just like old books or just like cheap new bestseller or whatever airport novels or young adult books. I mean, there are good ones like that too, but you gotta be able to think critically and evaluate a story, evaluate a plot, evaluate the characters, and try to find the common themes and look at the prose. Yeah, it's not just teaching for the sake of teaching or just like going from an old curriculum and just like have a one size fits all model or just teach to the test. Like, I mean, there's no perfect solution for healthcare or education in this episode, but it should at least look at that from a more objective, research based, human-centered perspective, you know? Not to mention, like, the sciences, like physics, chemistry, biology, other fields, like, oh, and history too. Like, not just American history, but other cultures, like history around the world. So you have an idea of what's going on over there at this time, or what's going on with us at this time, and teach like the real history, the unbiased history, not just the history that the winners serve, you know, or not just try to spread a narrative or a propaganda. Yeah, that's another thing. So with all this education, it needs to be from an objective, fact-based, well-researched, truth-based basis. I don't know how to describe it. Yeah, not just like, oh, this is my opinion, or just random indoctrination and pushing your agenda with this or that belief here and there. You know, I mean, that's what the education system should be. It's like real life application of the curriculum towards the economy, towards the jobs, but not just only that, but you have a better perspective of life. You gotta look beyond your daily life and your routine, because there's a different world out there. There's many fields out there. There's many things to explore out there, and the education system, it just restricts a student's mind to, oh, this is the subject, this topic about this subject. That's it. You're gonna get tested on it, and then you struggle over it, and then you take the test, and after that, you forget it the rest of your life. Like, that's not education. That's not learning. That's not worthwhile. Yeah, so if they at least address or cared, or, I don't know, go to the hospitals, go to the patients, go to the schools, talk to the teachers, talk to the parents and the students, at least cared about that. And go to the school board meetings and the PTA meetings. And not just like, and not just have groupthink or some crazy agenda like, oh, they're trying to and have this identity politics or this religion, blah, blah, blah. Like, no, it has to be beyond that. Another thing they could also prioritize are consumer protection and workers' rights and protection and unions. Yeah, so with workers' rights, like, you will get a fair wage, a living wage. You will not be abused by your employer, abused by the boss, like, and not have retaliatory measures if things don't turn out the way we want. And also consumer protection, like, if you buy a bad product or the product ends up like hurting you or something, like, you have your rights to have fair and appropriate compensation, you know, not so you're not like just ripped off by your employer, ripped off by this or that corporation or company, that you're not beholden to a certain monopoly or industrial complex. They should also advocate for a fair taxation system. Yeah, like a certain percentage is taxed from your total income, your total net worth, from your this asset, that asset, or, you know, but there needs to be transparency regarding the taxes. Like, what's it really going towards? How's it really helping the community and the state or the country as a whole? What programs is it funding? How is it helping the average American citizen that they would see it in their everyday life? Is it building this or that infrastructure? Is it helping this or that, I don't know, government official like the policemen and the teachers? And they could advocate for taxing enough, because right now there are so much damn tax. I mean, yeah, there's a tax for buying a car, a tax for having a mortgage, sales tax, income tax. So I don't know, federal tax, state tax, property tax, this tax, that tax. Like, before you know it, like, half or more than half of your paycheck is gone from all the taxes. And then there's people who manipulate the system and find ways to pay less taxes or avoid the taxes or get lobbyists to write, like, smoosh up with the government officials to write laws so they have to pay less taxes, or they even find ways to hide their money in foreign countries so they don't have to pay as many taxes or taxes at all. So if they were the ones who advocated for a fair taxation system that is transparent and applicable, that's for the good of the everyday American life, then that's a good starting point, right? I mean, it sheds the stigma that, oh, we're corrupt, oh, we're incompetent, oh, we're too bureaucratic and we don't know how to spend our money, or we spend too much money on this or that. No, well, it's, and not to mention the country's in like a giant debt of trillions of dollars and rising. So if you just at least sit down objectively and address that accordingly, then it would restore some faith in the American public, right? That they know, okay, we gotta not just rein in our spending, but spend smartly, accordingly, tax respectfully and fairly, and make it applicable. Yeah, not just for random military stuff or random drugs or stadiums, or for this politician to do these recreational activities or fly on the private jet here and there, you know. Another thing they could do is advocate for a fair justice system. Like, this crime warrants this punishment, this sentence. And of course, you take into context of the crime at hand and what the victims had to go through. But a fair justice system, like, not one person gets 5 years and another person gets 30 years for literally doing the same crime or in very similar contexts. You know, just because, oh, that person had a better lawyer, or that person is worth more, or is a better impact on society. So, or that person, like, how could you determine the life and value of a person if the justice system is uneven like that? You know, I mean, who are you to tell, like, how, whether someone is good or bad, or what value they have in society if the punishment for the same transgressions are not the same? Like, when it comes to the justice system, everyone should be held to not necessarily 100% same standard, but very, very similar. Yeah, we don't have a different set of rules for, like, the average citizen and their kids versus this affluent person and their kids versus this politician and their kids. You know, like, when you commit a crime, you are violating the rights of another person. You are not playing by the rules. You're trying to get away with something. And not to mention white-collar crimes. You know, like, you're actively stealing money, you're trying to cheat, you're trying to defraud, you're trying to hide money or something. Yeah, that needs to be punished accordingly also. And you also need to crack down on the people who abuse the legal system, like the people who make false allegations, or the people, yeah, it shouldn't be, oh, I got a nice break because I got this nice judge from this district, or I got this big name lawyer, or this president was in office and he was more likely to pardon me than others. No, it shouldn't be like that. Oh, well, then again, at this point, there's a lot of things that it shouldn't be like, but it is going on right now, and I don't have the answer for it. But the least I could do is call it out, you know, and I'm not the only one calling it out. Many people notice these injustices and inefficiencies and going on, and they can definitely articulate better than me. But then again, they probably dedicate a lot more time researching it more than I do. I'm a generalist regarding all this, you know. I mean, I don't like actively research it 100% all on my own, but I try to stay informed. I mean, I do my work, I go home, take care of my family as best as I can, but you stay informed and you gotta check your news sources, and you gotta make sure that they're objective, you know? Not like, oh, what are they trying to make you think? What are they trying to make you feel? One thing that could be worth exploring is ranked choice voting. It's like, okay, first round, okay, these are all the candidates, like the top 5, move on, and then the top 2, move on. And that's how you determine whether or not a certain elected official is representative of the populace or of the country or the county or a city, because they have to appeal for the general population, not just for the extreme people of a political party or spectrum. You know, it's like you gotta represent not just the extreme right, extreme left, but or not just the centrist, but everyone in between. Because honestly, right now, many people are politically homeless because they lean this way on this issue, they lean the other way on that issue, but they don't want to be labeled. Oh no, like this side, you think this way, you're this. You think this way, you're that. No, no, no. Everyone has different opinions on different topics and different stances and on different issues, you know? So perhaps ranked choice voting will encompass that as you try to, I don't know, appeal for the people in that immediate community, in that immediate voting base. Two topics that they could probably reevaluate their entire stance on are homelessness and immigration. Okay, I'll start with immigration for this one. It's like I said, we can't just have a porous border and everyone just like comes in like willy-nilly and just like hides and commit crimes and abuse the system and just go on welfare. But we can't just like completely shut out. I mean, we're blessed to be like the country is blessed enough to have this current standing in the world with these resources. So it's like not really an obligation, but a good position to help, to take in, you know? Because just think of the reverse. Like if America was like so bad that it's much easier to leave than to fix, and wouldn't you want like someone else to help you out, you know, to give you a chance? And that if you're immigrating to another country, you understand your position, you understand that you're in a vulnerable position, so you have to be respectful towards your supposed hosts. I mean, what would it mean if they were super xenophobic and shut the door on you before you even had a chance? I mean, you understand you're coming in with your own skill set, that you can make a good case for yourself, that you're willing to integrate and learn the language and be a contributing member to that society. Yeah, so it's like not everyone just gets to go in whenever, however, but there needs to be an organized human-centric system to get in. And like the homeless, I mean, we can't just, there's a huge spectrum of them and they fall into many different categories. Not, oh, they're lazy, or they chose to be homeless, oh, too bad for you, oh, they're criminals, or they got mental problems. No, a fair amount of them. Like, do you think anyone wanted to be homeless? You think anyone wants to like live in a tent, or out in the cold or in the heat, or look for food and water? No, people, they need like shelter because it at least provides a sense of human decency and dignity, you know, of self-respect. Some are just down on their luck and exhausted every feasible choice that they had at the current moment to be in their predicament right now. And many have to swallow their pride in order to ask for help, in order to look for resources, and not knowing what the next step or what the next day will bring. And shelters and programs like this or that, they're only temporary, you know? There needs to be something more lasting, or maybe a commune, or maybe some kind of job training program. I don't know the exact answer for this. But how about start with just getting down there and just seeing what they have to go through, talking to them, seeing exactly what they need, having a conversation with them, rather than all this bureaucratic consultants and funding, and you don't know where it all goes. Like, oh, how come we spend like millions of dollars on this homeless program, but there's still so many homeless people? Because being in a predicament like that terrible for that long, with that stigma, it affects your mental health and it pushes you towards certain vices. So, especially drugs. So, not only now you're homeless, now you're addicted, now you're bipolar or schizophrenia or whatnot. But that's another thing that needs to be addressed accordingly. Like, they need to get realistic resources to help them with those issues. But we also need to weed out the ones that want to be helped. Okay, maybe weed out is the wrong term, but pretty much find the ones who generally really want to get out of this predicament, want to find every means possible to, I don't know, better themselves from that environment, because they did not I can tell you, no one chose that lifestyle. No one wanted to be like that. If they had a respectable, human-centered way out, supported by the government or the community, then they would have taken that path a long time ago. But perhaps right now, that path isn't clear or not available, but it needs to be. But it is also a public health and safety matter also. Like, I wouldn't want them hanging out in public settings like bus stations or parks or in front of businesses, but I don't want to concentrate them all into one giant skid row or whatnot. One reason in the rise of homelessness is because back then they had many more mental institutions, but of course the living conditions at those institutions were not the best, but at least hopefully people received the mental health help they needed there. But all those closed down. So where did all these people go? They go out to the streets, and then they're like a public disturbance. We'll call what it is, you know? But we're not going to are we going to give them a bad stigma this entire time? Are we going to jail them all? No. They need help. They need a place to go. They can't just be out in public all the time, you know? Honestly, it's unsavory. But they know it. They don't want to be there. They don't want people thinking them like that either. So it's like a human-centered approach. Like pretty much everything I mentioned today, it's like it could all be solved with a human-centered approach, you know? Because at the end of the day, everyone is human. They need shelter. They need food. They need education. They need money. They need respect, you know? They need to be treated as a human. And I'm sure there are many detractors out there who say, oh, it's not that simple. Oh, you don't know what you're talking about. Well, try to make it simple or simpler, you know? Try to break it down to basics. Because an ailing society affects safety and mental health and erodes trust in the government, regardless of what party is in power. Perhaps with new priorities like cleanliness, safety, kindness, respect, compromise, communication, like human interaction in third places, or even like ease of transportation, or better means of public transportation. And not to mention, like, try to stray from traditional media, you know, because that is all corporate based now. That is all profit driven now. Like, trend towards new media, new podcasts, media that talks more about, that is more conversation based, that goes more in depth about a topic, because they need to address real populism, not faux populism, you know, and also not just catering to the elites or the corporations. Yeah, when it comes to campaigning, it's not just raising the most money ever or having like the best campaign ever and people are super joyful, or just like I don't know, just grabbing whatever and putting it together last minute, you know. And just telling the American public, okay, yeah, you gotta like this. This is what we're doing. I'm like, look where that got you. It did not resonate with the average American person because the message was not clear enough. Not to mention, it isolated many American citizens. You know, you're not gonna get people to believe in you if you demonize them or ostracize them or exclude them or talk down on them or over their head. You gotta relate to them. You gotta address what's in their immediate community and routine. You gotta unite. You gotta find common ground. Like, this person in the country is not that different from this person in the city, you know? This person in this urban area is not that much different than this person in a suburban area or a rural area. Like, what common themes, what common beliefs, what common values do we share? If they emphasize those points, they would have a better image. They would unite the country better, unite the populace better, rebuild trust and faith and credibility in the government. And if their current image, name, and label is tainted, it doesn't hurt to rebrand, you know? You can have a new name with a new image, new vision, new priorities and values. Of course, you can't stick too much from like your old platform, but you gotta take the good aspects of it, the lessons you learn from it, the truth, the evidence, the research, the humanity from it. You take all that and perhaps you put it into a new brand. Because maybe sometimes it helps to shed the past image, the old image, the misconceptions, the connotations, the reputation for something that's more forward, you know? Because for examples, If the Nazi or the Taliban rebranded themselves as the nicest, most benevolent group of people governing body ever, just the name itself, they can't shed the past unless they shed the name. So maybe it comes with the name, you know? I mean, just because you change the name, it doesn't really fix everything, and you put forth a better resistance or opposition to this current administration and what they stand for and their cuckoo-ness. But the name is only one aspect. It's the values. It's the priorities. At the end of the day, I keep saying it should be human-centric. It should be for the average 9-to-5 middle-class, working-class citizen who's learning and working, who got hobbies, who got family and friends, who want a better world, who want it to work hard, but also need help every now and then. And that's okay. I cannot guarantee that if they take these stances with a new platform, that they'll win forever. But at least they would put forth a much stronger case and have a much better chance and preserve our democracy and our way of life, because it would be human centric and it cares and its values are steadfast and strong. And I admit, right now it's very easy to say that they won't. They'll keep the status quo. They just want to protect their jobs and their butts. They want to take the path of least resistance and only have plausible deniability. But one can hope. They could do the right thing. They could do the best thing. They could be smart about it. They could be strong about it. They could be right and moral and ethical and human-centered about it. They could. They should. Well, that concludes this week's episode. I know it went a bit long. I don't know what the heck happens when I talk about these subjects. They end up being much longer. But I admit, for these subjects, I write scripts, and sometimes I follow the scripts. Sometimes I don't have a set script of what to say verbatim, but I got talking points, and sometimes there's just a lot of things to talk about those points. Well, there will be episodes like this. There will be episodes that are short. There are episodes that are more scripted. There are episodes that are more extemporaneous. Well, regardless, I do appreciate you tuning in and listening, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye.